pool, put it here. You can reduce the length, the width, drag it. So what's your next activity after PO?
Goods received.
You receive the goods.
Yeah. Okay. So the person who does this is the warehouse. Warehouse officer. So I'm going to create an activity, put it here, and bring my line. Sorry, this will not come from here. This will come from here down. This is this receipt. Then I create the new this and put it here. If you want to drag, just hold your mouse and drag on the screen and reduce this. So what's the next activity after goods received?
Invoice received.
Yeah. So the accounts officer or ARO officer does this activity. Click here, select the line. Was received. Now what's the very last activity?
Payment.
Payments. So let me zoom out so it comes very small. So you can use this zoom in, zoom out tool. Then I have, then this is accounts payable. What's the next activity?
Bank reconciliation.
That's cool, but I'm ending it here. But you're correct anyway. Then end. So guys, this is a typical flow when you use the pool. So you can see that with the pool, every single activity is tied to a responsible person. Right. So even yes, questions. Okay, so I think there are no questions.
Yes. I want to ask one question, Kelechi, please.
Okay, please.
Now, this chart that you just drew for the FRD. Now you said the chart will be made in each stage, for each of the stages. Is it possible to make one whole chart for the whole stages, just one chart?
Because you are going, well, I don't know, because your diagram will be too many. So it depends on how you broke down your FRD. If you don't break it down normally in practice, right? You see, let me show you so that you can in practice, this thing can get as big as much as possible. You see this one process, as you keep asking questions, for example, you can keep asking and asking and asking. So sometimes only one requirement might be very long. So, and for the sake of the technical team, they need to be able to track what you are doing. So it's good you do it per. In fact, some people even do per FROD itself if it's very long, if it's very lengthy. But what we're doing now is per the sub of the BROD. So this is the BROD, which is a sub of this main activity. So in real life scenario, they will tell you to present it like this so that they can be presenting the activities one after the other. If they are done with designing this process, they sign off on it that they are done. Do you understand why you have to break it down? So that it's also
Yes,
easy
that
for
makes
the
sense.
technical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also easy for the technical team to track how what they have everything inside here. If they stop at the middle, I mean, how are you going to know? How are you going to monitor and follow up? So it's not. I think what is ideal, and of course in practice, is that you do your workflow based on the FRD stage, one step at the time, one step at a time. Okay, so this is just me giving you an example of how you can use your pool and how you can link the activities down to the end. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, I can also screenshot this guy. I'll just put it there for example, so that in case you want to also do yours like that, you can just do that. So in case you want to put responsibility, a pool, you can also do that. So I've saved it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, the next thing we're going to be looking at is this very, very important topic, which we call stakeholder management. Once the BA is done, I mean, stakeholder management comes even before requirement gathering, because before you gather requirement, it comes before requirement gathering, it stays throughout the phase of the project. It's just like change management, because from beginning of the project to the end, you need to keep managing these guys. Even after go live, you need to keep managing your stakeholders. So it's a very, very key activity for a BA who is going to be involved in an SAP project. So I want to ask, in our usual class scenario, who are stakeholders in a project? Please, it's open to all of us. Who are stakeholders in your church, in your home? Who are stakeholders? Please feel free, guys. I need response. Just something brief is fine.
Okay, like the first stakeholder, of course, is the owner of the business, right? And then you have, of course, the workers too. These are people who are involved in it. And then you have like third parties. If it's a company, you have the suppliers, and then you have the customers.
Okay.
Then you have the banks, the financial institutions.
Okay.
Then you have shareholders.
Oh, great. Great. So thank you very much. So basically, you have given me an example of who stakeholders are, and from your explanation, you can see that the group of people you called, they all have an interest in the business, directly or indirectly. The bankman has an indirect interest, such in the case where probably you took a loan from the bank, while okay, while the staff has an interest, direct interest, because he is involved in the day-to-day running of the business, basically. Right. So thank you very much for that. I think that is fine. Thank you for that brief explanation. So basically, just to make it formal and picking a citing from the project management book of knowledge, a stakeholder is actively or effectively involved in that project. Actively or effectively, number one. A stakeholder has interest that may be positively or negatively affected by the performance or completion of that project. So, a stakeholder is somebody who has both a negative, that I mean, the success or failure of that project will affect him in one or two ways. So he has interest. Number three, maybe may assert influence over the project, its deliverables, or project team members. So somebody who has enough influence to affect the outcome of a project, the deliverables, the decisions, is also seen as a stakeholder. So these are very, very important people who are involved in the day-to-day running of the project. So who a stakeholder is actively involved, has interest, and has influence. Is active, effective, has interest, and has influence. So that's who stakeholders are. It's important you know, because as a BA, one of the requirements you're going to be gathering is stakeholder requirements. Okay, same. Right. So basically, these are who our stakeholders are. So as a BA, it's important you know your stakeholders, you identify them, you analyze them, and you make sure that you manage them effectively. I think we have listed some of the people who are directly and indirectly involved. And look at the roles and responsibility of key stakeholders. So in a project, these are high level, just high level description. In a project, the first stakeholder you have is the sponsor. Like Chooks rightly said, we're going to see their responsibilities as we move on. But the sponsor is the person who is responsible for driving the change. Oh, you cannot unmute. Why? Okay, let me see if I can unmute you. Okay. Sorry about that. I think it's a setting. Okay. Oh, so it's an issue here. I may need to. I think he's only giving me permission. Oh, but I mean, I'm hearing Chooks speak. Chooks, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I have.
So Kelechi, please, you can log out and log in. It's active. I think it's from your end. Please log out and log in. Thanks.
Is it me?
Somebody said they can't unmute.
Oh no, I'm okay.
Okay, that's fine then. Okay, so at the very top, we have the project sponsor. Just okay, Steve. Steve, please log in and log log out and log in. You were speaking some minutes ago. So we have the project sponsor. We have the project lead, who directly reports to the project sponsor, and of course, we have the project coordinator. So it can be a coordinator, it can be a lead. So in a typical SAP project, you have project leads, you have project coordinators, you have SMEs. So just under the project lead or project manager, you have the functional and technical consultants or technical leads. We have team members, and under the functional and technical lead, we also have people who are supporting the project in every form. This is just high level, but we have a whole lot more stakeholders we are going to be looking at. Now, these are just briefly explaining their roles, right? The first is the executive sponsor. He provides the resources and support. He approves the final plan. The next is the business manager, who controls and directs personnel and activities of the organization. The next is the technical coordinator, who handles the technical aspects of the project. We have project leads, who are accountable for the project success, the work plan, resource allocation, the risk management, scope change control, milestone monitoring, and all that. We have the project coordinator, who coordinates project effort from start to finish, just like the project lead. We have team members who would form part of the subject matter experts, like you and I who are going to be involved in the project. We have the BA who will be doing most of the project management tasks. We have the customers who are like external, who is your client. We have domain subject matter expert like FICO consultant, your domain. We have functional and technical leads. We have the regulators like SAP and of course government bodies. We have suppliers. We have testers. So these are the some of the high level project stakeholders we have. So part of the job of a BA, guys, is not just to identify the internal stakeholders, because stakeholders are both internal and external. You're supposed to also identify external stakeholders, because you need to know the services they are rendering to the client and how it affects you. How it affects you. So, for example, when I was a project with one of the big fours, we had a requirement. They were using Microsoft Navision. And we're supposed to do some kind of change management activities for them, and also um, um, manage those processes. So the first thing you will need to naturally do is to know the vendor, is to know Microsoft and the application, right? You need to identify who is the vendor for Microsoft that the company is using, where are they, who are the team members and all that. So you have to also identify external stakeholders. They are very important because they can also affect your performance. They can affect your delivery, right? You don't want to be in a project where you have a requirement but the external stakeholder is delivering something else. So it's good you identify both the internal and the external stakeholders. Now let's look at stakeholder management. How do you manage? Because guys, in a typical project, you're going to have a lot of stakeholders, a lot, both those who want the project to work and those who want the project to fail. Those who are not are averse to change. Those who are even who have interest in different ways. So managing all these interests are very, very important. So the job of a BA is not just to gather requirements and design them and all that. You have to be able, you will be in the middle of everything. So you have to know who they are so that you can effectively manage them. Stakeholder management is the process by which you organize, monitor, and improve your relationship with your stakeholders. So the essence of managing them is to also organize, monitor, and make sure a relationship with them is cordial. Now, it involves systematically identifying stakeholders, analyzing their needs and expectations, planning and implementing various tasks to engage them. Right. So it is going to be your job to identify them, identify their interests, analyze their needs, and plan on how to engage them. So identifying them and keeping them is not the final thing. You have to engage them. You have to have a plan on how to engage them. How do you want to engage them? Do you want to regularly have meetings with them? Do you want to have phone calls on intervals? Do you want to visit them? How do you plan to really engage them? A good stakeholder management process will be the means through which you are able to coordinate your interaction and assess the status and quality of your relationship with stakeholders. Right, so please, the success and failure of a BA is tied to this topic. Right, so wherever project you find yourself, you must be a people person. You must be able to not just identify needs now, but you're supposed to be able to manage human beings. You're supposed to manage human beings. what are the 5 steps you can engage them in your strategic plan? So let's look at some of these steps. The first things first is that if you want the stakeholder engagement piece to stick, it needs to be the core part of the business process. So you have to make sure that when you are managing your stakeholders, you have the business process in your mind. So for example, if I have the BRD and I have some set of activities, I should be able to identify the stakeholders that are responsible for those activities and engage them. It's important to understand what your stakeholders contribute, or well, their contributions, whether they are highly interested or highly engaged. So another way to engage them in a strategic plan is you need to know their interest. Are they highly interested in this project, or are they highly involved in this project? Another thing you have to put in your, you have to make the stakeholder management a key part of your strategy for implementation. So as a BA, I can't overemphasize it, but one of the ways you're going to maneuver the politics in that industry or that office. So you go to a new office, you're going to meet office politics. You're going to meet a lot of things. You're going to meet cabals, right? So it's left for you as a BA to identify them, come up with a strategy on how to. I don't mean in your head. You have to write down these strategies on how to engage them. Then ensure there is leadership alignment around your key stakeholders so that they can drive the engagement. So you have to make sure that there is an alignment at the top amongst key strategic decision makers. Alignment means that they are talking with one voice, right? They have enough information, you can easily engage them, and they are all speaking with one voice. So you have to ensure that this alignment is working, is effective, and you're engaging them. So you are also expected to continue building high performing teams and relationships. So your team members are part of your stakeholders. So you have to make sure that as you're ensuring that you are in good relationship with the stakeholders in the business, the users, you also have to make sure that your team members, you have good working relationship with them too. That is what will guarantee success in your project. Then how do we create a stakeholder management plan? What are the key elements that you will naturally find in a stakeholder plan? The first thing you will actually need is what we call the stakeholder register. So guys, if you say you have been on a project, an SAP project, and you are asking, now you can see that BA is a whole lot. It's not just we have left requirements gathering, analysis. We are now in another section of what the BA does. Remember, we are still at the prepare phase. So you have to plan how you're going to engage the stakeholders. You have to know them, put them to have a register. It's not just to know them in your head. You have to come up with a documentation we call the stakeholder register. So when you go for interviews and you are discussing about your involvement in projects, you should also talk about this side of what you did. So the first document you would have outside the BRD, FRD, and all those other FSD and all that is the stakeholder register. You also have to have what we call the communication plan. It's also a document which will come as you remember. This is planning. We're still planning. You have to come up with a stakeholder communication plan. You have to come up with a risk analysis. And when you have gathered them in a register, it's not just for the sake of gathering. When you have analyzed them, you now have to analyze the risk. So you have to come up with a risk stakeholder analysis document of feedback loop, how you're expected to manage feedbacks with your stakeholders. These are real issues that you find in projects. Yes, please.
Please, let me ask a question.
Yes.
Let's take something like this phase number 2, like stakeholder communication plan. Does that mean,
Okay.
you have to develop a plan on how to communicate with the stakeholders as the project goes on? Is that what it means?
Exactly. So when we go into the slides, you're going to see what they mean in detail. So number one, when you have identified them, you need to also have a document that says how will you be communicating with them. Are you going to be calling them 2 hours every day? Are you going to be doing emails? How frequently? How each of these stakeholders, how will your communication look like? How would you be reaching out to them? These are real issues. These are real things you see in real projects. Yes, you will have to do that. You have to come up with a plan. And remember, this is before we go to the explore phase. We're still in planning. That's why I say planning is a very, very serious phase in the SAP project. So number one, let's look at the stakeholder register. So the stakeholder register, who can let me know what do you think will be the content of this register? Roberto, Stephen.
Okay, I can speak.
Okay, please. After
Okay,
you, Roberto should help. Okay.
yeah.
What do you think will be the content?
Firstly, you need to look at their position and the
Okay.
reporting structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
So
position
the
and the report. Yeah, and the reporting
there are
structure.
different positions.
Yes.
Yeah, reporting structure. Okay, that's fine. Okay, thanks for sharing. Ken, Roberto, what do you think will be the content in a stakeholder register? Are you guys there? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to.
Can we add something like their qualifications of the top management or their experience?
Qualification. Okay. If you have access to that kind of information, you're a BA, you're not
No,
inside, you're not an
they
inside.
should give you that information. They should give you.
Maybe
They should give
maybe their
the
position.
business analyst. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the position, but not their qualification.
Okay.
Maybe there are different roles or positions. Yeah, you are sounding like an auditor. So as the name goes, the project take. Okay, continue.
Okay, so I wanted to ask. So
Okay.
what about like the year they joined the company? Does it really add to anything? Does it add value to what you want to know
To
about the
the
stakeholder?
register.
Like the year, yeah, to the register.
Okay. Okay. Some of this information, no, they are what we call privileged information. There are now general information. So that would be more of a privileged. How long have they been in the? Okay, I mean, if you can get it, why not? Why not? Okay, you need to create another BF hierarchy for the
Well,
stakeholders. Okay.
I don't think how long someone has been in a position can create an influence. Someone can be in an organization for more than 30 years, but he doesn't have any influence. He's not even a decision maker. And someone can join an organization today and he's a decision maker. So I think the critical point there is the position and the reporting structure. In a civilized country, but in Nigeria, I think his own position can come in. Right. Like Nigeria, you can see a junior staff who's more powerful than even the manager.
Yeah, I think he also has a point that would also help how to relate with them. If you see somebody, for example, I went to as a project we had with I think is one of these shipping companies, Zim. Yeah, one of their Nigerian office. Zim is like the 7th largest shipping company in the world. So they were doing a rollout for their Nigerian office. When I went there, I saw people who were there since 1968. Like I saw the I saw a man like more like the I think is a finance head or something. He was there. I saw him. There was a picture on the wall. He was there since 1968. He came as, I think, after he just finished service. You see him as tiny as he was, and you see him today. So he has been there for the past 50 something years in one place. So why I'm relating this to what Chooks asks is because you might need to know, because those kind of people, that information will also help you to know how to relate with them, because they know the intricacies of the company. Somebody who has been there for almost more than 50 years can advise you on the politics. If he really wants you to succeed, you can ask him that, okay, seeing your experience and how long you have been here, can you share how the environment is here? He can give you very good insights. So yeah, to some extent, that outside the influence, that can also help you understand the business a lot more from his own eyes as much as possible.
Sorry, Kelechi, please let me just share an experience I have. Why I think that point might be very important. There was an investigative audit I did in Nigeria. That a PLC, publicly quoted company, was involved. I was actually carrying out this investigative audit in a company that is quoted on the stock exchange, a very big company in Nigeria. And now the information we got that busted the whole thing was gotten from an employee who had been there for years. He's a top management staff, okay? But he was able to know what was happening because, one, he was in top management, and secondly, he's been there for quite some time. We found out, for example, that about 10 billion naira, which is not reflected in the financial statements of the company, was owed to another company. So you can get information from those guys who have been there for years. They know exactly what is happening. You get very useful. As a matter of fact, if not for that guy, our investigative audit would have wasted all the time. Not knowing what to do, because that amount is not in the financial statement. So where do you start from? Normally when you come to do an investigative audit, you look at the financial statements. You start looking at the figures and seeing if the figures jive. But here it's not even there at all. So you have a huge amount, like 10 billion. I'm talking about this audit was sometime in 2004-5.
Okay.
And 10 billion was a lot. So yeah.
So true. I mean, I concur with you. It depends, and it will be smart of the BA to try to get that information. It might not be documented or formal, but if you can get it anyhow, those kind of stakeholders can really help, can give you a very good information. Even it's the same thing when I joined them. I was close to that man because he could tell you, oh, for this person, so handle this person like this. For this person, handle this person like this. He gave us all he was good enough to really help me to manage each of those each of their. He will tell this person, he will be laughing at you, but be careful. So those were very, very good information. And sure, you might have it as an undocumented requirement, but why not? If you have that, if they can give you that will be fine. So thanks for sharing. All right, so this is an example of the stakeholder register. We have the stakeholder's name, their title, their role, their power level, their interest level, the requirements you hope to gather from them, and the concerns. Right? So these are based on the requirement. This is a summary after you have gathered the requirements, stakeholder requirements. So identifying them is very, very important. and coming up with this kind of register is very important. So for example, I'm now going to go to my own project, which is this guy, and I'm just going to come down and I'm going to have build my own stakeholder register. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. Just going to do that briefly. So insert table 1, 2. Okay, this is 7, 7. So I'll just call this in larger, of course, in larger businesses, this will be very stakeholder. So I'll have name. I think I have title and role.
But Kelechi, I want to ask a question, right?
Yes,
For
please.
me, yeah, I don't think that bringing stakeholders register into a BRD document is necessary. Why do I say so? Because I feel that stakeholder register, it should be for the consumption of the BA. That will enables you to know how to interact with who and who in an organization, right? It shouldn't be part of a business requirement document, because now what it shows that you're trying to expose certain things, that somebody might not be privy to have before, now making it public. So for me, I just think maybe for the purpose of this
No, you're
training,
correct. You're correct. You're
yeah,
correct. You're very, very
it should
correct.
be for
This
the
is a
consumption
separate
of the
document.
BA and the project manager alone.
In fact, let me do that. Let me even do that. This is normally a separate document, just for.
Yes.
Let me do it. Let me do it here. Doing it on Excel would have even been lovely. Taking me less time. Okay, so I will just do this one. I have James Godwin. So guys, I'm just doing the sponsor, title, CEO, sponsor. So we'll learn about this power structure. So we have high, medium, and low, depending. Let me just use high and low. There's nothing like medium in power. So we can also do this. Hi Steve, can you hear me? Steve, can you hear us now? You still cannot unmute your mic. Can you unmute your mic now? Hello, Steve.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I'm using my phone now. Okay, I'm using my phone.
So you can use your laptop to look at a bigger picture and your phone to talk.
My laptop was problematic. I'm using my phone.
All right, fine. So we are actually coming up with a stakeholder register for our project. So we have this as title, sponsor. The power is high, the interest is high. So he's supposed to give us the BRD. Are there any concerns? Our concerns are basically access. Access is limited. So we can have another stakeholder. We can say this is Frank. Frank Henry. He is the project manager. Role in the project manager. You can use Excel for this. The power is high. The interest is okay. Here we have high, medium, and low. Interest is high. The requirements are basically functional. Let's see. Okay, functional and technical. Is in charge of them all. No concerns yet. So we can have Richard Yu. Richard Yu is the technical lead. His interest is high. Power is high. Interest is high. Requirement is technical. Concerns is access to information. These guys can be very secretive. So I can go on and on and on and on. Let me just put this last one. I have Joy Freeman. Title is she is the human resource role is more of HR or HCM. Interest is power is high. Interest is high. Interest is medium. Requirements more of team members. And none. Stakeholder register. So as part of your own project, please come up with a stakeholder register. At least you should have up to 10 people. Oh, sorry. In your 10 people in your lists. I want to name these numbers, but no problem. So you have up to 10 people in your list. So these are my stakeholders. These are internal stakeholders anyway. Remember, you have both internal and external stakeholders. So this is what your stakeholder register should look like. So I have this already for my own project. So you can come up with yours as much as possible. All right. Okay, so once you have come up with your stakeholder register, another thing you need to do is to do mapping, is to map your project stakeholders. So see what I will do. Let me add, because I'm going to do the mapping. Let me add. Okay, we have already done the mapping. We have David Brown, accountants, role, finance. The power is low, interest is high. Requirement, finance requirement. We've already done the mapping. Concerns. None. Okay. So the mapping is what we are doing now. The mapping is to map them according to their influence. Right, and we have already done that. So the first thing we're supposed to do is to come up with a list. What we did was to do everything at the same time. Normally, by practice, this is what you will get first. These first three. These are the first activities you're going to get. Then when you are done, let me put this one here. What you will now do, the next activity you will now do is what we call, how do I merge this now? The next activity is what we'll call, if it was Excel, I would have done, it's mapping. So you have mapping. Let's do this. So okay, so we have been able to map. This is what we did. So mapping is the green. We are able to map them according to their level of influence, power, and that is what we call mapping. Need to put this. Okay. So we are able to sort their name, their roles. Let me close this out. I think this is what is causing this guy. Okay. Requirements. So we have done the mapping. So the mapping is basically to help you determine who your stakeholders are and how much engagement, communication, or consideration they will be needing. That is the essence of the mapping. So we have successfully mapped our stakeholders. Of course, the mapping is high power, high interest. You have stakeholders who are like the sponsors. You have high power, low interest. People who like the son of the MD can have high power but is not so interested in what you're doing. We have low power, high interest like the accountant. We have low power, low interest like maybe one admin officer somewhere. So when you have identified the stakeholders, then you have to do the mapping according to their level of influence and power. That is the job of the BA. After you have done the mapping, the next thing you're going to come up with is a stakeholder communication plan. So once again, I'm going to go back and start another one. I'm going to create a new. I'm going to call this stakeholders vision plan. So it's also supposed to come up with something. Of course, with the stakeholder register in place, you need to engage appropriate stakeholders based on their level of influence. It's very, very important you take note of that. To avoid sending right information to the wrong stakeholder. Now, guys, you will appreciate this register when and if you have, there are some projects you have up to 500, 400, 300 stakeholders. If you don't map these things very well and determine their communication plan, then you're going to really mess things up, because it's when they are so much that you appreciate the need for a stakeholder register and a communication plan. Because there are some people you send email, there are some people you need to call, there are some people you need to have direct conversations with, there are some people that you need to be following up every 2 weeks and all that. So you have to make sure that that plan is in place. So to avoid sending right information to the wrong stakeholder, develop a communication plan that is visible, actionable enough to guarantee the much needed buy-in from your stakeholders. Right, very, very important. Sorry, let me just charge this. All right, so it's very, very important that you have this plan. All right, so we are going to have a communication plan, and of course, there are some calculations you can put, but the idea here is that if you follow this, there is this what we call the Men's-Law metrics. If you have a total number of, the metric says that the total communication channel, this is the formula. So if you have 10 stakeholders, there would be 10 times 9, 40, 5 possible communication channel. This is according to the Men's-Law metrics. It's a very, very important theory that we use when we want to do the communication plan. Right, so what it means here is that if you have, based on this theory, if you have 10 stakeholders, then you have to look for 45 potential communication plan. Because if you, for example, a stakeholder that you said, oh, phone calls will be good today, tomorrow might not be picking your calls, or calls might no longer be okay, because maybe he's not happy with the management, or he's not happy with you, or he likes things to be formal, so send mail. So you understand that this communication plan will have to be flexible, and you have to have more than one communication plan. So the principle says that, for example, of course, for 100 stakeholders, you should know the number of channels. This shouldn't discourage you, but serve as a warning that the situation is serious, even for smaller projects. So for smaller projects, it doesn't mean you should. This is a very, very important document, and it can affect the way you communicate with your stakeholders. So you need to come up with as many channels as possible. That's the essence of this document. Okay, so I'm just set up a communication frequency. This is just talking about this. So you can see that for my communication plan, I have the different stakeholders. I have the engagement action, I have the owner or his role, or the person who he reports to. I have the channel, and I have the frequency. So this is an example of what we call a communication plan. So let me also come up with my own communication plan. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 to 5. I'm just going to go insert. Before I do this, let me just do this. Okay, so I have name, engagement. I already have the names. Um, um, I have frequency. So I'm just going to copy from the other one I did. So the engagement or action. So what are we going to? We have manage closely, keep informed, keep satisfied, monitor. So how do we do this? Okay, we need to have something here to help us. So let me add something to my own. So I'm going to have role. So let me pick the role here. This is supposed to be okay. Okay, so we have some actions. We have manage closely, keep informed, keep satisfied, monitor. How are we going to be engaging this stakeholder? How are we going to be engaging the project sponsor? So let me just write the steps here so that you can tell me what you feel. So let me write. So this is engagement type. So we have manage closely, have keep informed, keep satisfied, monitor. So guys, I need your thoughts. What would be the engagement type for this for the first person? The engagement action rather.
It's a direct contact.
No, we have these options here. Then we have monitor. These are our options. This is the engagement. So for this sponsor, which of these should we put here? Stephen, you can talk now, right? Roberto, Theodora, how do we manage this sponsor? Anyone?
Keep informed.
Keep informed. Okay. Okay. That sounds good. Any objection, please, you can tell us why you feel shouldn't be keep informed. Reporting line. I think this should be direct. This is direct because he's the sponsor. He doesn't report to anybody. The channel. So what? How are we going to be communicating with this guy? And what will be the frequency? Please, I need you guys to speak up. All of us who are on the call. Roberto, I've not heard you. Theodora, Mr. Ken, are you guys here? Hello.
Okay, sorry. The channel, we should do emails.
Okay.
And we shouldn't be tied to a limit, a time limit with him. I think when the issues come up, we should just let him know.
So frequency is occasional,
Yes.
on demand.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Or as demanded, or as crisis occurs.
Yes.
Okay, let me just see. Okay, so the next person, the project manager, what do you think would be the engagement action? Stephen, are you there? Okay, so Theodora, you can go on. Or Chooks.
Let me ask, is it possible to combine two engagement actions for one person?
Yeah, it can change. It can change. So this keep informed
No,
tomorrow.
not change. Like using two for one person at the same time. Like you can say keep informed and manage closely.
No, because it would cause a lot of confusion in the communication. So it has to be. I mean, it has to be. They can be two, but the one with the highest at the top of your priority. That's what we'll put. So at the very top, if you want to rank the two engagement action, the one at the very top is what we'll put. Okay, so can you help me with the next one?
So keep informed.
Project manager is directly involved. So okay, we should be able to manage this guy closely because he is going to be part of the project. So we will have a very close relationship. So we are supposed to manage this guy. Keep informed is also good, but his second is, I think, in the hierarchy. The project manager is going to be there, so we have to have that close communication with him. All right. So the reporting line will be, of course, is the project manager, so to be direct. Then the channel, we can have more than one channel. So how do you think we should manage this guy closely? How do you think we should follow up? So we can, okay.
Email should be there.
Okay.
The direct, what other communication? What official communication?
Personal checking. Personal checking.
I don't want to say WhatsApp.
Direct.
I think text messaging, phone. Yes, okay. Use it in it.
What of WhatsApp message?
Yes, that's what that is on that. Okay, you said phone call. Okay, phone call and WhatsApp, text messaging, and WhatsApp message.
Isn't that too impersonal?
And these days in projects now WhatsApp, in fact, you even be in a WhatsApp group, self. They'll put you in a. There's no project that doesn't have WhatsApp groups. So
It depends. If I can't imagine, well, it's possible, but I don't want to think like, let's say you are hosting a very big project and a bank MD CEO or let's say the governor of central bank, then they will hardly even talk in that WhatsApp group, you know.
No. This is for the project manager. We're not looking far. So, normally in a project, you will have as the BA, this is your second in command. Like, this is the person you directly report to in most cases.
Oh, okay.
And you
okay,
work with, yeah. So even as much as what do we call the Teams call self, other apps, Teams call. In fact, you and this guy will be talking every day.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see above. I was thinking is the sponsor.
No. This is the project manager. So the frequency, how frequent are we going to be? Daily, weekly? Of course, this is daily. Okay, let's rush this out. The technical lead, we have to most likely keep informed because we don't have direct. He reports to the project manager. So we're going to be doing more of emails and calls occasionally. Then this will be maybe monthly and weekly as project progresses.
Sorry, Kelechi, I was a bit out. I want to this technically, because for us to actually map this thing properly well, we need to also understand their role. For a technical lead, right? Keeping him informed, I also think that he has a good stake in the project, right? So why do we have to keep him informed? Why not also manage him? So, like, we need to understand his role properly well.
Technical lead is technical lead. Now, the technical lead, you don't even have direct contact with them until you have designed your system, Seth.
Okay.
So you have to be informing him as you progress. So let's say if you're done with the system design, you in your email communication with the functional consultant, normally they are in copy. Anything that has to do with system.
I think the project manager, maybe in his own arrangement, that's why he will keep that guy.
Is it like Kelechi, that technical lead? Do you mean like the maybe ABAP person or something?
Yeah, the programmers and the
yeah. That's a BAP. Okay.
Yes. So there is Theodora, you were saying something. Hi, Theodora, you were saying something. Okay.
I was trying to say that for us as the BA, yes, I was trying to say for us as a BA, from my own understanding, we're trying to draft the framework and how things are going to, or how things are going to run. We shouldn't keep this guy. We shouldn't give him that too much of that priority that this guy was talking about. Unless maybe when the project now starts, that's when this technical guy will take that status of manage closely.
Closely, I agree. Yes. I agree. They are not like I said. They are even in a real project before you even communicate with them. Before you even start having conversations with them, it's when you have gotten almost to the end of the project, they can now. So for me, I think you just have to be informing them as much as possible. Okay, so we have the human resource manager, the person in charge of employing people and all that. So how do we manage this person as the BA?
It depends on the project. Does the project have a direct impact to HCM?
She's the one giving you. She's the one employing the team members that you need. So let's say, for example, you will need SAP consultants, or you will need an assistant BA. Right?
We have to manage him. We have to manage him closely.
Okay. Monitor Yes.
I'll say keep informed also.
At the top, you also, so any of them can apply, but we're looking at their influence basically. Okay, we keep informed. Yeah.
But
I
you know,
think
I also think that Kelechi, that like for this position now, Joy can also have 2 engagement action. You can manage him closely and also keep him informed.
But here we don't have 2 engagement action. We have 1, the topness of the highest in the hierarchy of those 2.
Okay.
Yes, we try to.
So if you manage closely, that involves also keeping informed, correct?
Yes. She's not supposed to have all that information. So I think is around monitoring or keeping informed. So I will say keep informed. When you need a staff, you can now inform her. Sorry. You can now inform her that, oh, CEO, this is the stage of the project we're in. We will need an assistant BA. So this person most likely reports to the project manager. And of course, this will be emails, most likely, and calls. Then this is basically maybe monthly or as event occurs. And let me see this person's another thing another thing that will drive your decision to keep informed. The engagement action is the person's power and interest. I think the power here is not so high, it's low. So the power is low, the interest is medium. So you keeping informed is not so is okay. This guy is keep satisfied. Please, sorry guys. This one is the most important. If this one is not satisfied, forget it. Get it. If this guy is not satisfied, the project don't scatter. So this is mostly keep informed. People with low power most times or interest, you just keep them informed. People with high power, you have to keep them satisfied. So their power and interest has a role to do when it comes to engagement action. Of course, this accounting guy just basically monitor this one. Reports to the head of finance. Emails, most likely. Don't need to be calling this guy. Monthly. Okay, so remember that your communication plan, especially for this engagement, it has to do with these guys, this power and interest. So the person with high power and high interest, you need to really keep those guys satisfied. And keeping satisfied means that you have to make sure that you carry them along in all your decisions. Keeping satisfied is the highest requirement in the action, basically. So we have come up with a communication plan. So once we start engaging the stakeholders, we'll have to come back to this plan. Okay, so the plan here is for the project manager. This is how we are supposed. These are our channel. You use the channel and you apply it appropriately. So this is actually what the communication plan is all about. So let's see if we can wrap this up. The next is risk stakeholder analysis. They say the old saying reminds us that no one is a product of their own effort. The same can be said for projects that depend on several project stakeholders and their support to come alive. Yet, not all of them are willing to let you have your way because you are the project manager or the BA. So that they want the project to work doesn't mean that people will give you their will. You're going to have opposition, right? You're going to have people with high interest, not high interest, but their interest is negative. Right? They might smile and agree with you in your face, then point out unnecessary flaws. This one happens a lot. That's why I told you that when I went for that project, the guy who has stayed for over 60 something years told me, you see this one, they smile though, but when they go for board meetings, they will attack you. Or when they ask them to give reports. So manage this one very well. You see this one in I remember when my current project, I met a consultant on ground, and the consultant was because he has interfaced with them. He was now the one giving me information that, you see this lady, she does I too know too much. So for you have to manage her in such a way that anytime she wants to bring out that thing, you try to manage the conversation. So those are the kind of information you get. So that they are smiling with you doesn't mean anything. They can be the ones to hurt you, right? And they can also change project requirement at the next status meeting because they want you to fail, right? They might give you requirements to them and say, no, we're not going to go in through this route again, just to make sure they disorganize you and the project, right? Or operate in silence and sabotage the project just because it represents a threat to their agenda. The people will call the saboteurs. Yeah, so you can see that running a risk stakeholder analysis is very, very important. Outside just identifying them and giving their level of influence and having a communication plan, you need to know them to the extent that the ones that are high interest and high power, and you need to be able to know if they are going to be threats, or if they will help you move that project forward. It's very, very, very important, right? You do this analysis and you work with the analysis. So we have a engagement plan. In the risk engagement plan, so that's why, sorry, I think this is okay. We're almost at the end. We need to wrap up this. So that's why I said, when you join projects, there are needs to do all these things, but it's just that some people in the industry, they don't most of them don't do these things, and you see them having a lot of issues, right, in projects. And when you now ask them, did you actually do this thing, to find out, it's embarrassing that as much as stakeholder analysis they did not do. So these are some of the issues. And also, to also help you when you discuss outside the environment, and of course in your interviews, you should also bring out these points as part of the activities you were engaged in, and try to explain how these documents helped you to manage your projects. So we have the stakeholder name, the current level of engagement. So you can see that maybe you have spent a month with them. You now have to start this risk engagement plan. Happens after you have had initial engagement, after you have done your requirement. When you do stakeholder requirements gathering, you will know those who will be resistant, you will know those who don't want to give you information, right? Then desired level, how do you want to engage this person based on their current level of engagement? What is the priority? Is it critical? Because this is a leading engager. The resistant one is the priority high. Then you have the action points. You see? So this is what we call the risk management plan for stakeholders. So once again, I'm going to do my own, just as quick as possible. So we'll call this risk management plan. So I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 to 5. So we have, I think I wish I could just copy this table instead of stressing myself. So this is current level of engagement. And this is desired level of engagement, priority. Priority action points. So I'm going to copy my stakeholders as usual and their role. I didn't put role, so let me put, okay, there's no need for role here. Okay, so their current level of engagement, of course, this is the CEO, so I would say, so we have leading, resistant, neutral, and unaware. So let me just do this. Aware and neutral. Okay, so based on my engagement, the CEO is leading, very supportive. I think we have supportive here. Okay, that's the desired level. The project manager is also leading, trying. The HCM is resistant. This other guy is unaware of a lot of things. And this guy is neutral. No, this guy is neutral. This guy, no, this one, okay, yeah, unaware. Okay, so the desired level, we want to keep this guy as leading. We want to keep this guy as leading. Let them keep leading. This neutral guy, we want to make him, want to increase involvement. This resistant guy, we want to support this person. Unaware, we want to create awareness. And the priority here is this is normal. This is normal. This is I think we're going to use low. Nothing much. This is high. This is critical because we need this person to. And this one is normal. We want to bring up to a normal level. Then you can have action points. Every other thing is okay. We have action points like this person now. We have to increase involvement, increase daily, increase communication. This person we need to okay, we need to involve. involve more his involvement Okay, so this is my risk management plan. So from the requirement gathering and my analysis, I've seen that Richard is neutral, but we need to make sure he's involved. So my desired level would be to increase his involvement in the project. For Joy, she's resistant maybe because she feels she's not being carried along. So we're going to be supporting her, and it's critical. So we have to increase involvement. For Brown, who is unaware, we need to make him more aware. It's normal, and we need to support. So for each of your stakeholders, you have to come up with a risk management plan, and this is my own risk management plan. Any questions, please? Especially with action points. I was expecting some people to ask or add, if you have anything to add on how to manage these sets of people, please do well to add.
Okay, not a question, but just like a kind of contributions, right?
Okay.
Because these things is more of, how will I put it? I don't know the right word to use, because now looking at somebody that is neutral, right? Tomorrow can become resistant.
Exactly.
Right. So at every point in time, I think as a BA, you also need to be reviewing this thing.
Of course.
Probably as the project, journeys, you need to, because sometimes somebody can be calm at the beginning of a project, and you notice that at the middle he's becoming resistant.
Yeah.
You understand me? So we need to also find a way to, manage the whole situations.
True. Thank you very much. This document is not static. All these documents, especially when it has to do with stakeholders, are subject to review based on as the situation, as we observe new developments, we need to always come back and review the situation. And thank you for that. And that's exactly what it is. We need to constantly review these documents and update them. So most times we have junior BAs handle some of these documentations. Any other contributions? Okay, thank you very much, Casey, for that. So I think the next thing is, the next question we have here has to do with conflicts. So we will need, this is more of discussion. I think this is the last topic for the day. So the question is, share your experience on any conflict you have had in your project or work, and how did you manage it? So it could be conflict in your workplace, conflict in your organization, anywhere. But if you had of course, we have all had conflicts before. Even God in heaven had conflict. You get, God managed his own the way he managed it. So let's share. This is we have the next 10 minutes or so. So Roberto and Stephen, have you had conflict before? How did you resolve it? Theodora, can you share with us?
Okay, I can share.
Are we there? Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. You see, this question you put up here, to be honest with you, in every interviews that I have done, this is always a question.
Yeah.
Because every organization wants to know your level of temperament. Every organization wants to always know how you can, collaborate with other teams without creating problem. Every organization, every manager wants to know. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Every organization also wants to know how you can manage situations without creating problems. So it has always been a recurring question, right? But for me, like, I've had a conflict at work, and conflict is bound to happen as far as you're working with a group of people from different backgrounds, people from that have different thinking and all that. So for my own case, I was in my previous organization back home then. So it was a time that we started our Oracle implementation.
Okay.
And based on the peculiarity of our job, right? So accounting was, as an accounting for transaction, there's a particular transaction, accounting for it was pretty difficult because it never happened in our country before. So we needed to, borrow ideas from other countries that, had similar experiences. Now, the issue then was we usually get a contribution from CBN, right? Especially those banks that were involved in the bad debt, that created those bad debt. So what would we usually get, a percentage of their net assets at every year. But how are we going to account for this money coming from CBN became a problem. Now, it was a conflict between my manager and our auditors.
Okay.
We, on our own, we had a different opinion.
Yeah.
But the auditors, they also, came up with a different opinion. In fact, the first time that issue came up, people walked out of the room, including one of the executive director, because it was all like a war. But at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that, you see, power of negotiation, power of discussion can always help matters. So what we did after that first and second issues, we were not reaching an agreement. We said, okay, do you know what? Every team go back to the table, come up with your resolution. So what we did, I told my manager, do you know what we're gonna do? The partner, the engagement partner, leading the team on this project, let's invite him on a personal basis, sit down, analyze the whole situation. So what we did, we invited the guy. Okay, don't come with your team, come alone. Let's look at these issues critically. Now, but before then, we've also done our research, right? To also back up, because when you are having a conflict, I always advise people have your facts and figures ready. These are the things that you can use to defend your own position. Sorry, I'm going to bring a little bit of politics. You can imagine how P2B lawyers are, messing up INEC and even APC because they have facts and figures ready. So what we did was to, now reach out to other organizations out of the country. Okay, how was this treated? How was this treated? They gave us their own view. Now, we now began to align both parties together. The most important thing is that make sure that you also try to align the views of other people, not just jettisoning their own idea. No. Okay, you said it's going to be like this. Okay, no problem. But if you could bring in this into your own and also remove this part from your own and out to our own, I think would be better. So at the end of the day, everything boils down on the approach. Everything boils down on how you are able to also put up your own defense. But if it's conflict, it happens even at home, husband and wife, siblings. But what matters is how did they end? Always allow conflict to end in a very positive way. That is my own view.
Thank you very, very, very much. Mr. Chooks, you want to share? Auditors always have conflicts.
Yes, honestly, what Kelechi just said makes a lot of sense. You know, for me, my take from what Kelechi said is you need the other party you need to explain to the other party to understand your own point of view, you know, what exactly you want to do. So that explanation is very important. You see, making the other guy to understand exactly where you're coming from really solves a lot of problems. You know, like you said, Kelechi, as auditors, we meet this in every assignment. You know, when you come into a company to audit, they think you're coming to investigate them. So they're already aggressive, you know. So, but when you explain to them, you know, what you
will see that they are resistant. So you see that you still have to handle resistant people. So it's part of your risk management and your stakeholder plan when you're going. You're supposed to envisage their resistance and manage them. Please continue.
Yeah. So, you know, in a nutshell, you know, Kelechi has actually, he was very expansive about that point. The point is explain, like when he said, you know, they invited the partner alone, you know, the essence of inviting the partner alone is explain to him, you know, what they are talking about, you know, and let him understand their point of view. And I think with that invitation actually solved the problem, you know, because now the partner will not go back. He's understood their point of view. He will not go back and tell his team, I think these guys have a point here. So it's good to resolve issues, just let the other party. You see, one thing I always advise people to avoid is this being prejudicial. See, we go in with a lot of prejudices. Now, Kelechi, when you were taking us through, when you were taking us through this topic, you know, you even said, you know, like you get information from people that this person is tough, this person is stubborn, or this person doesn't cooperate. Please disabuse your mind. Yeah, disabuse your mind of those things. Meet the person first, because the way you present yourself and present what you want to do makes a whole world of difference. You know, so don't go in a place with those prejudices that this person is tough or this person is not cooperative. Just go with an open mind and deal with the person. You know, like you don't know, you haven't heard anything about him before. You know, it's all part of resolving the problem even before the thing starts.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much.
I want to add to what he just said. Do you understand me? Like sometimes people could also poison your mind. No, I have been in, like, you know, like an office project. Eventually, they now say, Arikibe, I need you to go and work with this guy. Somebody told me, that guy is so difficult.
Yeah.
Are you sure you can work with this guy? The guy is so difficult. But guess what? The first time I met with the guy, I didn't go there with the mindset that he's a very difficult person. No, I went there being playful. He's a boss. He's somebody in a higher position. I went there. I didn't even talk about the job.
Yeah.
But before then, I have done my research to know what the guy likes so much. I found out that he's a very sporty person. When I went there the first time, we started talking about sports. We started talking about life, just to calm down the whole situation. But guess what? That job, trust me, from the starting to the end, I never felt what people said about the guy.
Yeah.
We blended easily. You know, one thing I've also realized, give him the chance to talk. If you allow him to talk, when he now finishes, he can now, you know, on a calmly basis, also thrown in your own position. At the end of the day, we never had any argument. That was when we were doing our IFRS conversion. He came with a different opinion with me, but at the end of the day, we blended and we did that project. And all the negative things they said about the guy, God knows, I never witnessed anyone. So it also depends on you and how you also want to manage that person. Don't go there with the mindset that, they say this guy is difficult, or more, you go hard for me, or nala. That's my own.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Theodora, I wanted to hear from a woman how you handle especially conflicts. Theodora, are you there? Is she there? Theodora, are you there? Okay. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, I mean, you've hammered on a lot of points. Do your research, give people benefit of chance. Allow negotiate, discuss, go with an open mind. Relate with people. Very great points, and really, I wish it was that easy, like you guys have said it. Because the reality of the fact is that you might choose to be nice and choose to go with an open mind, but the question is, if somebody doesn't want to relate with you, if somebody wants to be resistant, eh, you in the real life, right, is you might have to make a decision. So I don't think it's neither here, it's neither there, right? The most important thing is that at every point in time, always have the goal of the project in your mind, right? That is what will help you when these cases occur, because I've seen abusive um, stakeholders. I've seen even the people that you are, just like Mr. Chooks has years and years of experience. You go to an office because you're a consultant and they feel you came to eat their money. You see a small girl talking to you anyhow, right? Or you go somewhere and you're calling for meeting, nobody is showing up, and when you ask questions, everybody ignores your mail. So it's it's easy to come from the point of
Yeah.
yes, let's not have any resentment. Oh, it's going to, it's a lie. It doesn't work like that. At a point, you have to also say, this person, man, I have to also keep my distance, or this person, I have to manage you like this. And the essence of getting some of this information is not to make you act, is rather to make you cautious. And even though you go with your open mind, you also have at the back of your mind that you need to be careful. And really, like I said, you will not win everybody. I mean, even the project I'm in now, some people are my friends, very good colleagues. Some people we don't even, you can imagine you are coming face to face with somebody and you greet the person and the person ignores you.
I'm
I mean,
telling
this
you.
is this is I'm telling
Yeah.
you, it happens.
They
And
are
the lady is
real
just
life things.
you're supposed to be supporting the lady. When you call her, she acts as if she knows what you're saying. They don't even, before you talk, and you, at a point, you want to talk, but you also know that you have to also manage the person. So you just keep quiet and go walk out or something. Or at some point, you are talking and a manager says, Kelechi, please stop, sit down. So you see, there are no matter how you look at it, the most important thing is for me is have the number one, just have the goal of the project. When you have the goal in your mind, then it will help you manage these things when they come. So, like I said, some people will just like you based on your personality. Some people will not like you, even the way you look or the way you talk. Sometimes you just have issues with you because you like some other person. I've been in a project where, because I'm close to a particular lady, the other lady is now beef, that kind of beef where it's not even project related, it's just personal. So there are a lot of issues, but the most important thing at the end of the day is that we have to manage them as BA. We have to manage them. When we cannot manage them, we escalate. We go to people who can manage them. Like also Kechuku said, sometimes you have to go the extra mile to but it's not everybody you have one-on-one with. Some people might just embarrass you for even recommending that. So there are a lot of things, right? It's just at the end of the day, you have to be very careful, you have to be very cautious, and you have to be very smart, when you're dealing with stakeholders. So just look at basically what we have about conflict resolution and managing conflicting expectations, because that's one of the issues. When expectations are not met, conflicts will naturally start. So in projects, we have some of these things that cause conflict. Schedules, whether we want to have, imagine in a situation where you have two bosses and they don't agree on timeline. Somebody is saying this thing must be now, this person say I won't be available. How do you solve that kind of thing? Right, so you have all these issues of priorities. Somebody is telling you, accounts finance manager is telling you month end is coming, they will not be able to do this. Meanwhile, the other person is free, and the other person is saying that month end when they are ready, and you're like, God, how are we going to resolve this? Right? You have resource conflict where you want to support users, but they are too engaged in their operational work. Right? They are so engaged. You fix meeting, they don't come. When you even try to reach out, they say, my brother, the workload is too much. You have a lot of all those issues. Right? You have technical issues that happens as a result of the technical. You have functional people having issues with technical team. Maybe because they have asked, a user is complaining, the functional person has gone to the technical guy, the technical guy is busy, and to the extent that the user now escalated to a top manager, and they see them calling you to a meeting or to board meeting or something like that, and you're telling them that is the technical guy. The technical guy is angry that you reported him. These are before you know, the functional and technical person, they have issues. So when you have a problem that you created yourself and you want the technical guy to help you, he's not available. So you see, these are real issues that happen that can cause conflict. You have conflict over administration, personality conflict. Like I said, some people will not just like your kind of person. They don't just like the way you look or the way you smile, or they feel the way you talk is very loud and very commanding. Maybe they are used to people who pet them, or you're always very official, and they just they just feel that you're too possessive or something. Then you have cost conflict as a result of budget. So these are some of the things that can raise conflict that you as a BA, you have to know how to manage, because you have to know the root cause first. That's the most important thing. Now, how to satisfy one of the issues is expectation, stakeholder expectation. Right? That's one of another thing that can cause conflict. So how do you manage some of these expectations? Number one, you have to build trust. So when you go to a project, you meet your stakeholders, make sure you build trust. How do you build trust? You go first. So lead the relationship by example. If you say you're going to be here by 9, come by 9. If you say you're going to help them do this, help them do that. So they need to trust you. Second is illustrate topics by drawing on relevant examples. When you're explaining stuff to them, try and cite examples. Listen for what is different, not for what is familiar. So when you're listening, when there are conflicts and they're trying to explain their side, don't over familiarize. Don't say, I know that is what she wants to say. No. You have to also be patient to know what is the difference he or she is trying to put forward. Be sure your advice is being sought. Right? So don't go and poke nose in issues. Make sure they're asking you before you give your advice. Say what you mean, not what you think. So if you mean something, say it that way. When you need help, ask for it. Always ask for help. Show interest in the person and what is important to them. So build close personal relationship with your different stakeholders as much as possible. If they have birthdays, what I do is that in the project I'm in now, I have very wonderful relationship. Right, I can, even to the extent that my boss was having a birthday, I bought him drink. Anybody who is doing birthday, I show up, follow and sing happy birthday, work. Just Make sure you have that interpersonal relationship with the stakeholders. Respect cultures. If they are speaking Yoruba, don't be angry and shout. No, you respect their culture. Use compliments, not flattery. Show appreciation. Everything they help you do, say thank you. And some of these things are how to manage, some of these expectations and conflicts that may arise. Yeah, managing conflict and expectations. So there is a relationship between resolving conflict in stakeholder expectation and project success. So most times stakeholders have expectations, and when it's not met, it's also a yardstick for conflict. It might not be directly to you, but it might be indirectly. Correspondingly, the earlier that project team diffuse a potential dangerous situation by identifying the cause of the conflict, the relationship between issues, the motivations of the stakeholder, the easier it is to build trust, resolve conflict, and overcome resistance to change. So 3 things I've mentioned here, which you should take home, right? In addition to what you guys said, you see these guys identify the cause of the conflict, the relationship between the issues, the motivation of the stakeholder. These are very, very important points if you must manage your stakeholders. Always ask questions. Use the 5 whys. There is a theory we call the 5 whys. If you want to get to the root of any issue, ask why 5 times. You will get to the root of that issue. So use the theory of the 5 whys to understand the cause, right? Another thing is you need to relate the relationship between the issues. What is the relationship between you not agreeing to sign off on my document and the training we had? So you need to see you need to look beyond the behavior of the person and look at the relationship, why the person is behaving like that. Then you have to look for the motivations. For example, some stakeholders are angry because they didn't have, in quote, choppings, or they were not carried along, and they feel some people are just benefiting from the project while they are not. And one thing I've learned to do also is that any project I go to on a personal level, I try to appreciate the stakeholders. Those, for example, if you reach me out for a job, for example, I had a project, I even have one coming up soon with LNG, but I had a project, a very short project somewhere in NDDC. And of course, normal, before you go, you have to, what I try to do is that after that project, I reached out to the stakeholders and appreciated them the much I could. And when something else came up, they called me. So as much as possible, try and know the motivation, because sometimes the motivation is what the resistance is what you're seeing, but the motivation is what you should understand. When you know the motivation why this person is resistant, then you can know how to handle it, right? So BA's work is a whole lot. That's why I keep saying is more than the functional consultant. They don't need. I mean, they don't have this knowledge, and most times you see them when they are doing BA work. You see the way they behave and the way they act is, you just see clearly that they don't know BA, like they don't actually understand any of these things that we're saying. But the advantage you have is when you have this and you are now you understand how the system works, whichever where you find yourself, you can actually manage yourself and manage that project effectively. So that's just a take home for us. Always find the root cause, look for the relationship between the issues, and that should be that. Okay, so we are done with this phase. I think the next we are going to be looking at is the explore phase, which we are going to be looking at next week. Hopefully by next week we should wrap up this phase. If we don't wrap up this phase by next week, then we should be looking at closing out this by or per week. So from the calendar, by the 1st of July, we should have been done with this course. This is almost 2 months. So by the 1st of July, we should be done. We'll look at project issues. We'll look at change management. We'll look at the realize phase also. Look at testing, data migration, training, and go live. I think that should also help us. So the essence of knowing all these activities and engaging in them is, by the time you're done with this course and they ask you, have you been on a project before? Kai, I would be very disappointed if you don't start from the beginning of the pre-project activity, then the requirement gathering, the the different types of requirements you gathered, you know, the JAT session you created, down to stakeholder analysis, stakeholder risk management plan, stakeholder register, just like that. If you follow the series of this training down to the last, and you go for an interview and you want to be a BA, you should be able to get that role. Like, I'm giving you 99.9% that you should get that role, because what you have here is not just, it's a collection of experience. Experience we have, and experience we're still having. Sometimes I come to the course outline, if I've had an experience on the field, I come and create a topic for it, so that when I'm teaching, you can see that I've done BA before. It's nothing. Maybe one of these days I'll just share what they sent me as quota. It was very shallow. I finished BA, I didn't know what I was doing or what I was learning. Right? There was nothing relatable to work, because it's just one concept they carried somewhere. But what I try to do is to make you see these things, right? Experience them, make sure that wherever you go and discuss these issues, they will know you have actually been on a project based on what we have shared. So I want to thank you guys so hopefully by 1st of July we should be done. We'll go through all the types of testing, we'll go through data migration. This is a data migration strategy, which all of you should know what data migration is and the different phases, big bang and trickle. This particular one came up for me in an interview, right? It was basically about data migration. They asked me, which of the approaches did you use? Which of the strategies did you use? Of course, I talked about big bang and I explained it, so it was good. Then we have training management, right? So how do you plan for training? If you're going as a BA, if you're going to be supporting the training, then you need to also understand what user training is, how to come up with a training strategy, and what the contents are. Then we'll now go to go live. In what do you do pre-go live? What are the activities pre-go live? What is your role? Then what are cutover activities? Then I think the last is the run phase, which is post go live. When you go live, what is expected of you as a BA? What are the different kinds of support levels we have? And then we have the 10 tips for providing better IT support. Then we look at the tips, and that ends the class. So by next weekend, if we don't finish by next weekend, by the 1st of July, we should have wrapped up on this session. And also, for those who are going to be just immediately after this session, we will start the Scrum Master session, because most of what you have learned is tied to the Agile framework. So we need to also we'll have that session side by side with the config section. So immediately after this session, we're having the Scrum session for 1 hour. Then we have the configuration section for 2 hours. Now I've sent you guys, I don't know if you have received the email. I sent you an email for the GUI. So maybe the last day of this training, those who are for the config will stay back. I'll share my screen. I believe you got the mail, so I will also put you through how you can install the interface, so you can have something like this. We call this the GUI. So when we are done, you're supposed to have the icon here. and this will open just as it's trying to load, and you now have the different instances. So we are supposed to get you to this level. Once we get you to this level, you will have the different access. So we grant you the access, and we also have also, okay, I'll discuss that with you once we are done. In case you want to have your own server too, you can also, we'll talk about that as much as possible. Remember, S4HANA is subject to, it's a subscription based service, so we'll know when we are supposed to start using it. So we'll check the time, and would apply that appropriately. So we have those activities to do at the end. At the end, we'll have a time to help you, configure the GUI. Then when we are done, you will have your logins where you log in, and once we are done with every class, you have to take time to do your own configurations as much as possible. So thank you guys. We're going to see in the next class, and in the next class we'll most likely be looking at fit gap analysis, and we will also learn how to come up with our FSD, that's the functional specification document. We'll know about the assist and to be processes, and we'll take it up from there. Then after that, we'll look at the blueprint. As we'll try as much as possible to put everything in one document, which we call the blueprint. And if you can get to this level on your own, I think pretty everything is done. Once you have your blueprint, other are just basically topics that you need general knowledge on. And that's that. So thank you very much, guys. Any question at this point? Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry, this is.
Go ahead. Adam.
Yeah, sorry, this is just about my viewing. I don't know if there's something I'm doing wrong. There's this taskbar that appears and covers some of the things you're showing me. I've been trying to close it, but I can't close it from my end. I don't know if there's anything you can do. The taskbar that has the.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it covers some of the things that you say. So some of the display. So I don't know if there's anything you can do about it.
Oh, really?
Enlarge the screen. Yeah, click there. Okay, no. Try to drag it down. Not the screen. That taskbar. The one down where you have take control of the presentation, where you have charts.
Exactly.
This guy.
No, that exactly.
It's two. Not that one. There's a bigger one.
Yeah. If that one can be up instead of being down, that would be great, because it covers some of the things on the screen.
Okay. Let me see if I can. Okay, the next class I'm going to see how to remove this guy. Okay, no problem. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't. All right. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
See you guys next weekend. Please.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.